All right. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Christine Torres. I am the Assistant Director for the Pioneer Center for Student Excellence. Today, we are going to be hosting our first Student Success Workshop. And the title of this workshop is Start Strong, Navigating Your Way to a Successful Semester. I do have two of our staff members that are joining us today. So we have Destiny Tolbert. She is our director for the Pioneer Center of Student Excellence, and she is located on our Dallas campus. We have Dr. Jessica Adame, and she is the Assistant Director for Success Initiatives. Did I get that right? For Student Success Initiatives, and she is on our Denton campus. So let's go ahead and get started. These are the areas we're going to be covering today. You're more than welcome to take notes throughout the presentation. Everybody is going to get a copy of the recorded version and a PDF of the actual slides. So if you don't capture everything the first time around, don't worry about it. We're going to send you a copy. So this is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be covering these 5 areas. We're going to be talking about how your first week of classes went. We're going to be talking about creating and maintaining a routine and a schedule. We're going to be talking about strategies for success, procrastination to execution, and we'll talk about some resources here at TWU. All right, so let's use the chat button, and I want you to, in the chat, include an emoji of how your first week of classes went. And I need you to understand that everybody is probably feeling the same thing. They're just nervous about saying it. So this is kind of one of our icebreakers to get started. So what are we feeling first week of classes? I entered one too, because it's been hectic. We've got some smiles. Awesome. It's like, where have we been? What's going on? Yes. Somebody's taking a deeper look into the semester. Somebody's feeling upside down. Yeah, just laugh, right? Let's just make the best of it. I love it. So there are a variety of emotions going on, especially if you're in a new environment, you're exposed to maybe content that's not familiar to you. It's going to feel differently. So I want to make sure that we address that as we move through this presentation. And like I said, you're not alone. Everybody is feeling some form of emotion going through this first semester, whether this be your first semester or this your first week of classes this semester. So we have a couple people in the waiting room. If somebody can let those in, please. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with a reflection activity. Has anybody ever used Jamboard? So within Google, everybody has access to the Google features, and one of those is Jamboard. What we're going to do first is I'm going to show you how to use Jamboard, and then I want you to answer a series of 3 questions, and I'll give you time to get through answering these questions. But what you're going to do is I am going to share this link in our chat, and you should be able to open it. So let's try that first. All right, so the link is in the chat. For those of you working like off a device, you might not be able to get in. It's going to be easier to get through on a desktop, but you're more than welcome to still participate by using the chat. All right, see a couple people in. So what you're going to do is over on the left-hand side, you're going to see a toolbar. You're going to grab a sticky note and you are going to write your response. You can play with the colors and you hit save. Then you can move this around as you choose. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. And what you're going to do is answer the first question. I want to hear what worked well for you this semester, this week. So think about your first week of classes and write a sticky note on what went well this week. Could be a couple words, it could be a sentence, it could be a list of things, whatever you want to include, but just what went well. Oh, somebody had a great math test. Awesome. Somebody had a HESI exam. Planning and organizing helped me feel less overwhelmed. Good. Awesome. You met all your deadlines in the first week. Awesome. That is good. Vanessa, let me drop the link in the chat again. Just click on that link and it'll take you straight to the Jamboard. And what you'll do is you'll go to the right-hand side of the Jamboard and you'll pick a sticky note. Assignments were complete and on time. Planning my entire syllabus for the semester. Ooh, that is such a great accomplishment. It takes a lot of work, but it really does help. Planning ahead of time to get assignments done, planning my week in advance. So I see a lot of planning. Good. So this is something that worked well. And if you have any last minute, can you just go ahead and submit so we can move on to our next question on the Jamboard? Anybody still working on this first question? All right, we're going to move to the second question. What was challenging? So again, just grab the sticky note on the right-hand side and write something that was challenging for you. If you would like to respond into the group chat, you can do that if you can't access the Jamboard, and we will put your responses in here. If you want to take your mic off, you can also just take your mic off and participate that way, and we'll add them as well. The HESI exit. Anybody else had anything challenging this week? Balancing other daily tasks with assignments. Yeah. So I added that one for you. Did anybody else find anything challenging this week? Everybody had a pretty good semester, pretty good first week. Learning to communicate with my team in Canvas. Yes, if it's new for you, it can feel like it's overwhelming. It'll be manageable. Lots of information at the same time. Yeah, you've got a lot of information coming at you. Trying not to procrastinate. Planning for study time. It was hard to do. We're going to talk about some of that too today. Let's look at the next question. If you have anything to submit, go ahead and submit it. What will I keep doing? What will I improve? Or what will I stop doing? So can you think of something that maybe didn't work for you this semester, last week, that you would like to stop doing? Maybe something you want to improve on, or something that worked for you and you want to keep it. Some improving organization. Okay. Anybody else? Time management, definitely. We're going to talk about some strategies for time management as well. I need to improve on how I will keep up with my classes, communicate with my team more frequently. Yes, it helps to keep everybody in the loop. improve on completing my reading assignments prior to class, and somebody also felt the same way. We're going to talk about some reading strategies too. We'll talk about procrastination. I need to stop procrastinating. Have a new study schedule to use. Oh, somebody's already met with one of our coaches. Awesome. Continue using my planner and stop leaving last minute assignments. Oh yeah. Last minute assignments tend to be those assignments you really either don't understand, just don't want to get to. They take too much energy from us. Definitely. We're going to talk about how to manage this. Keep planning. I need to improve on how to keep up with my classes. Okay. The reason I wanted to do this assignment is because I want you to keep these questions in mind, and I want you to do a reflection activity after each week. So the first week, we've had some time to process and to think about what went well, if there's anything we need to change, what was challenging. Then we need to figure out a process on how to address this, okay? This is going to be a way to help you improve in some areas and to continue succeeding in the areas that are working for you. So please take these questions in mind. You'll still have these once I forward you the presentation and the recording, but just take a sheet of paper, write the questions down, and then do this reflection activity. Do it every week to check how you're doing and, again, to find those areas where you can improve. All right. Does anybody know what the definition of insanity is? Anybody want to take a guess? So insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Yes. Yes, somebody got it right. A lot of times we get stuck in, we're creatures of habit. We just get stuck in doing the same thing because that's all we know. And sometimes when we are stressed, if we're procrastinating, if we're delayed on activities, if we have a lot of different things that we need to do and obligations to fill, we just do what we've always been doing. And this is when you get stuck in a fight or flight mode. We don't want to be here. So you want to make sure that you're taking time to do these reflections so that you can have different approaches to the tasks that might be challenging and different responses from when you change things up. Okay. So just remember this definition of insanity is coined by Albert Einstein. It's just, you want to make sure that you are on the path to succeeding. And if it feels like you're trying too hard to do something, there's a better way. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is creating and maintaining a routine or a schedule. So routines are very important because they help with creating structure. They, just like our image says, it gives you something to wake up to. It gives you a sense of purpose. It helps you focus on you. If you're a person who tends to procrastinate or struggles with time management, then you tend to feel guilty about taking care of yourself, about eating, about sleeping, about staying hydrated. So if you're able to plan your day and plan these activities in your day, then you are less likely to feel exhausted and burnt out. They keep you busy. If you know that you have a lot of things to do in a day, then you know that you have to accomplish those so that you don't fall behind in your schedule. It provides discipline. It helps with your mental state, and it helps build confidence. Does anybody use a to-do list? And then as you get through your to-do list, you check it off or you highlight it. Or if you use stickies, you just crumble it up and throw it away, and you feel that sense of accomplishment. This is why it's important to have a routine and to be able to understand where you are spending your time. And if you're not spending your time in these areas that you've identified as priorities, then we kind of need to take a step back and rethink what we're doing and how we're doing it throughout the day. Your goal is to maximize your day. So if we look at routines, if we look at schedules, we are going to see that a schedule is a plan for carrying out a process. It's giving us a list of intended events and times. So you can overplan and you can underplan. So let's take a look at what that looks like and how to avoid overplanning and underplanning. This is a blank schedule. Let's just say, for instance, this is a schedule, Monday through Sunday. If you have class on Mondays from 9 to 11:30 and 2 to 4:30, and then on Tuesdays, 2 to 4:30, let's go ahead and plug that in so that we know that we are not available and we can't take commitments during that time. Maybe you have an online course. If you have an online course, you more than likely do not have a scheduled time to meet. But it would be a good idea if you plan a time within your week. So for this example, we're going to say every Tuesday from 9 to 11:30, I'm going to work on my online course. Let's also say that you have to work. So if you have a commitment that you need to work, then you might also want to consider including that in your weekly schedule, because we know that we have classes and we also know that we work. So we can't study during this time. Let's also say that on Sundays, you spend with your families, with your friends, and you really look forward to those activities, whether it be going home or staying on campus or just building time so that you can spend time with your families and doing things that you really love doing. So let's just say we do those on Sundays. We've included a planning day here in the evening. We'll get more into that a little bit later, but it's also great that if you have a standard routine for planning. If you build this in your schedule and you know that every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. I am planning for the upcoming week, then you're less likely to fall behind. You create and maintain this schedule and this routine for the week. You also want to be sure that you include self-care. Maybe you prefer to go to the gym, take a walk, do some yoga, meditation in the evenings. We've included that in our schedule as well. And then maybe Saturdays, you just hang with your friends. If that's something you want to do, if you just want to spend time alone, let's plug that in there. So now we know these are our priorities for the week, right? It's going to be our classes in yellow, the work that we have to do. We're going to be planning on Sundays. We're going to spend time with our family. And then this is just self-care. If there are other activities, like if you're involved in a student organization, a group, or if you have other academic requirements, you can dump these into this. And we'll also send you the template so you can work with this on your own. So now we know that for our week, this is what our schedule looks like. If your work schedule changes every week, then the green area will change every week. But for consistency purposes, everything's going to stay the same. Now, we're going to look at study blocks. These are ideal times where you would be able to study, and this could be in your dorm, in your apartment, in your home, on campus, whatever that's going to look like. But you're already determining that these are some great times where you can study. Now, if you don't want to study in the evenings, then that means you have a lot of studying to do Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. That's fine. This is going to look different for everybody. The key is going to be that you are looking at a schedule each week. So this should be an outline of what you're doing each week, and then you'll break Wednesday down or Monday afternoon down by what you need to do. Okay, so we'll look into that a little deeper, but I kind of want to give you a visual representation of what you can plan your week out to look like so that you don't feel like you're procrastinating, so that you don't feel like you're missing out on time with your family or taking care of yourself. For those of you who are who have moved away from home to come to school and you're on our Denton campus, if you know that you have a big family event that you want to go to, then plan that. And maybe you're going to need to be off a Saturday and a Sunday, and you're not going to be able to be studying, which means you're going to have to get all your work done before you leave. That's going to be your goal. So you can do this and you can change it as your weeks change throughout the semester, but being consistent so that you have a purpose of what you're going to be doing each week is going to be very important. Does anybody keep something like this already? I see some nods. Okay. So let's go back and let's look at time management tools. There is a variety of ways that you can manage your time, look at your schedule. You can keep a to-do list. You can use your calendar in Canvas. Somebody mentioned earlier that they have planned out everything. So they pulled their syllabus and they wrote everything down. Somebody just dropped in the chat. They're more of a to-do list and a calendar person. You have access to your Google Calendar, or if you use Outlook or your phone calendar, you can plan daily, weekly, and monthly. So it's really up to you on how you plan. You can keep a visual representation of what you do weekly. If you're using your phone calendar and your Google Calendar, then you can take those with you to those different places that you go. Go ahead and use the chat and let me hear what is your go-to when it comes to planning. What does that look like for you? What do you use? Google Calendar, a month-to-month and a to-do list. Great. Planners, weekly planners, phones, calendars, mobile notes. Okay. A monthly planner and a to-do list. Google Calendar to plan my semesters, to-do list. I see a lot of to-do list people. So to-do list means that you are an action-oriented person. So these are the people that will do the to-do list, will scratch it out, will highlight it, will throw away the sticky notes. So you need to go by, you feed off of the going through the action of completing a task. Structured post-it notes too. Yes, I love post-it notes. I do have them. You can also use sticky notes on your computer. So for those of you who have a Microsoft computer, you can search sticky notes and you can have digital sticky notes on your computer. So that also helps. The Jamboard, if anybody, so for using Google, you can use Jamboard and those sticky notes as well and take those sticky notes with you. So anytime you log into your Google account, you can take that with you as well. Make sure that whatever you're using, you're comfortable with. So if you are used to using a paper planner and somebody just told you about this new app and how you can do this, this is not the time to convert. Stick to what you know, stick to what is comfortable. I know a lot of students that I've worked with as well who used a large calendar or dry erase board on their walls and they'll write bigger deadlines. That is simply a visual representation of what they need to do. That's perfectly fine. This is going to look different for everyone. So whatever works for you, perfectly fine, stick to it. How do you maximize your planning? So when we looked at the image of the weekly plan right here, when we looked at this planning day, you want to make sure that you are planning for the week at least 2 weeks out. So if you're using your Google Calendar, your paper calendar, whatever that looks like, you want to make sure you are planning at least 2 weeks out. Why 2 weeks out? Well, if you are planning on a Sunday and something is due on Monday, you don't have enough time to go through it. So if you plan for at least 2 weeks in advance, you are going to be more prepared than you would if you wait and just make a to-do list every day. So try to make sure that you are planning at least 2 weeks in advance. Review the length of your assignments. So when you're in that planning day, so if your planning day is Sunday from 6 to 8, go through and read and skim through what you're going to be reading. So if you have to read chapter 14, write how many pages are in chapter 14. Write how long a video is. So if the video is an hour and a half that you've got to watch for class, then write that down when you are planning. Then what you're going to do is you're going to utilize a technique called chunking. This is where you break tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. So for those of you who tend to procrastinate or have procrastinated in the past, this is going to be very important. A lot of times, a task might just seem too overwhelming, too much to do in one setting. So if you break it down into smaller, manageable pieces, it's going to be easier for you to get through. If you know that you need to schedule an appointment with a tutor or a mentor or your professors, do that when you are doing your planning, because this is going to help you stay focused and stay accountable. So if you set a meeting for your tutor in 2 weeks, then you have to review the information before you get to the tutor. So it helps to hold you accountable. Likewise, if you're going to have a conversation with your professor about a specific topic, you have to do your research beforehand so that you come in with questions once you meet with your professor. Add more time for difficult tasks. If you are a person who does not enjoy reading, who does not enjoy writing, who does not enjoy group work, then own it. It's okay. Add more time to your schedule and definitely chunk it and break it up into manageable pieces. If you already know that it's a lot more difficult, that it takes a lot more time from you to sit and focus on a particular task, find out what's the best time of day for you to focus on this task. If you're a morning person, then wake up early and do this. If you're an afternoon person, then schedule this for the afternoon. So pay attention to your body, to your mind, so that you're able to schedule these things accordingly. And then also include where you're going to be studying. If you know that you do not tend to study as much or focus as much in your dorm, schedule time to be in the library, reserve a study room, go to a local cafe or whatever this is going to look like in an environment that's best for you. For those of you who share dorms, share living spaces with other individuals, maybe look at a time when there's less people in the home so that you are able to fully focus on the area that you need to focus on. And then be consistent. This goes all back to keeping a schedule, keeping a routine. It's being consistent and holding yourself accountable. Has anybody heard of the 2190 rule? So this rule states it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to make a lifestyle change. Has anybody ever said, I'm going to go to the gym? You sign up for the membership and then you never go? Has that ever happened to anyone? Right? Never, right? Never happens. Well, this is because we don't stay consistent. So if you can pick 2, 3, one thing that's going to make a difference in your academic life and give you that balance that you need, stick to it for 21 days and say, every Sunday, I am going to plan. And if you do that for the next 16 Sundays, because there's only 16 weeks this semester, we're down to 15 already. But if you say for the next 16 weeks, I am going to plan, you're going to see a difference. Be consistent and hold yourself accountable. And you'll be able to master that. Let's talk about some strategies for success. So, got a couple of images on the screen. Let me see who can relate to any of these. Anybody? Right? I see some smiles. Yes, me. How many of you relate to at least 2 things on here? And feel free to drop it in the chat. Charmaine, love it. Yes, yes. I can relate to like 3 or more. We all can. We're all guilty of it, right? But does this really benefit us? Right? How many of you study on your living room floor while your TV's going off, right? How many of us study in an area that we know we can't focus and concentrate on? You might have other obligations, other responsibilities, but if you can identify those times where, I'm going to go back to this. If you can identify these pockets of study blocks and utilize those and maximize those, you're not going to feel as overwhelmed as if you try to do too many things at one time. Okay. Yeah, on my phone while studying. Yes, there's, it's part of us now, which is unfortunate, right? But our phones go with us everywhere. But sometimes we need to disconnect. And if you can disconnect while you've identified these study blocks, you're going to find yourself more successful. So if somebody wants to say that for, my 2190 challenge, I am going to disconnect during my study blocks, please let me know how that works, because I can guarantee that it's almost going to work. So what happens when, let me go back to this. So what happens when we multitask? Do we really feel that we have taken in all the information that we need to take in, or do we feel like we're spinning our wheels? So there is something called the switch cost effect. So the transition from one task to another involves significant cognitive effort, causing mental and physical fatigue, reducing task performance, and loss of concentration. So if anybody has ever thought, maybe you can, right? Watch TV and just listen and focus on an assignment. Maybe that works for you, but it doesn't work for everybody. There is a switch cost effect, which means your brain cannot process all of the information coming in at one time. So let's look at what that looks like. Focus. You want to make sure that you are eliminating distractions, and these could be internal and external. An internal example is you are thinking about a deadline that's coming up. You are thinking about what outfit you're going to wear Saturday night. You are thinking about what you're going to do for dinner. You're processing things mentally. Externally can be the distractions that we've seen. What you want to do is you want to create a brain dump. Write everything down, and I'm going to give you a specific example of how to do that, but you just write everything down. Let's just get it out of our heads, and then let's move forward, right? Because we want to focus. You're going to try the Pomodoro technique. Has anybody heard of the Pomodoro technique? You're going to love it. So the Pomodoro technique is actually a timed technique, and you can use anything, but this is we have a version of different timers, your phones. It could be timers that are on your computer, on your phone, whatever that looks like. You're going to set your timer for 25 minutes. You're going to focus on that task for 25 minutes, whether that be reading, whether that be writing, whether that be planning. You're going to do nothing but that for 25 minutes. After the 25 minutes have passed, you're going to take a 5-minute break. And this is what I tell students. So you should be stretching, water, restroom break, whatever that's going to look like. Step outside, get some fresh air, come back in. If you are taking longer than 5 minutes on those breaks, then you probably need to set a timer for your 5-minute break. You're going to come back 25 minutes and you're going to do the same thing. Eliminate distractions, and we're going to make sure that we're focusing in on the activity at hand. You are going to feel so much more productive. Now, you don't have to use Pomodoro for everything, but use it when you feel like you're struggling, you're going to struggle, you've got a lot of pressure on you. So your goal is just to work within those 25 minutes. If you can get through 3 cycles of Pomodoro, you're going to feel the effects and you're going to see the progress on how far you've gotten. Okay, so try the Pomodoro technique. Reading. So let me see emojis on how everybody feels when it comes to reading. I love it. Yes. Yeah. It's one of the things that you are going to have to do. If you do not enjoy it now, let's just go ahead and say, you know what? I don't like to read, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I need to do it. Try the Pomodoro. And this technique is a technique. I love the emojis because this is so me. I've had to tell myself, I've had to own up to it and just say, hey, I don't like to read, but I'm going to find something that I like reading. And that has helped increase my tolerance for reading. And so has the Pomodoro technique and taking these breaks. So I encourage you to take it. So let's go ahead and look at the SQ3R. I saw your message, Nancy. So the emojis are inside the chat button at the very bottom. So let's look at the SQ3R method. This is a flyer that I like to use. Everybody will get a copy of this. So what I want you to do right now is just kind of get a visual of what SQ3R is. It is a process for reading and learning more effectively. What you're going to do, you found it, Nancy, awesome. So what you're going to do is you're going to first survey the material. Now, remember, when you planned, you've already broken up the material to say, there's 100 pages of writing. I'm going to do 25 pages a day, or I'm going to do 2 settings of 50. So once you've done that, then you're going to survey the material. You're just going to look through it. You're going to skim the material and you're going to look at things that stick out. And it's going to be different for anybody, for everybody. You're going to look at headings, subheadings. You're going to look at graphs and charts. If there are words that you do not understand, then you're going to write that down with the definition or go look it up. You're not going to spend too much time here. It's just a way for you to get familiar with what you're going to be reading. Then you're going to create questions. So these headings and these subheadings, turn them into questions and ask yourself, what is? How does this apply? Ask yourself questions like this so that you start to stimulate interest and curiosity. So when you start reading, you have these questions to help you get through the readings. Then you're going to read. This is where you're going to use the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes. Okay. When you sit down to read, make sure you've eaten, make sure that you have gone through and, silenced your phone. You're in an environment that you can focus in on the reading, and then you're just going to read. As you are reading, if anything is difficult as you're getting through your readings, don't reread it more than twice. If you're going to go back and reread a sentence or a word, that's okay. But don't do it more than 2 times, because I know I've been guilty of it. I read and I'm like, what did I just read? And then I'll go back and read again. I'm like, what did I just read? I don't understand any of this. And then go back and read it again. And yes, it's going to take you hours to read because you're rereading. More than likely, once you start reading, you are going to find out that what you were struggling with is making a little bit more sense, because that's the way the text is written out. It's going to start making more sense as you read. Now, take notes of anything that you don't understand. If you are in a textbook, you can put a sticky note, you can put a sticky tab, you can write a question mark, you can take notes and have a sheet of paper on the side and, write page 42 and then the word. Okay, so do things like this, and then you are going to move on to step 4, which is you're going to recite. You're going to talk through those difficult items. So this is where you start doing a little bit more digging and going deeper into what you didn't understand. And you're going to write summaries in your own words. This is very important because a lot of times students will try to retain information word for word. Our brains don't work that way. If a sentence is 15 words long, how do you interpret that sentence? So you're going to paraphrase and write it down. If you paraphrase in groups or if you paraphrase in bullets, whatever that's going to look like, symbols, write that down. Then you're going to review. And you're going to practice that reviewing process over time. And you're going to spread that out over a couple of days or a couple, or as your semester progresses. So this is the SQ3R method. You're also, one of the other techniques with reading is visualize yourself. So I saw in the chat earlier when people were saying where they were from in their departments that I saw some nursing folks, I saw some healthcare administration folks, I saw folks that have different majors and different interests. As you are reading the material, I want you to visualize yourself as a professional working in a hospital, as a nurse, as a teacher, as a mathematician. So you're going to ask yourself, as a nurse, how would this be important to me? As an educator, how is this going to be important to me? So what you're going to start doing is you're going to start putting yourself in the situation to where now the information is going to apply to you as a professional and not just as a person reading the information. You can create mind maps. Has anybody ever worked with a mind map or know what a mind map is? Let's look at that really quickly. So, mind map. A mind map is a visual representation of a theory, a process, something that you're learning. They can go to very simple to very extreme. Keep it simple in the beginning, okay? So let's get the big picture. A mind map starts off with a central concept that you're talking about, and then it branches out. People add colors, people add symbols, people add words, whatever makes sense to you. People also add images. So maybe there is an image of a, let's see, mind map of a leg. So body parts. So there might, let me see. So maybe you want to look at a bone. So it breaks up the bones and you're able to kind of digest a little bit deeper. So they can get as complicated as you need them to be, but they can also be very simple. And sometimes this helps with creating an understanding. So for mind mapping, I know that there are 5 branches. So with 5 branches, these are going to be the individual branches that when it comes to testing, when I get asked a question, what are the 5 branches of mind mapping? I know that they are like this because they have been within the, are y'all able to see my screen? Okay.
I don't think so. It's on focus and reading still.
Oh, okay. Let's try this again. Sorry. So can you see this now?
Yes.
This is the mind map. Thank you, Destiny. This is the mind map. So here's their central concept, and here are the areas that it branches out to. So this will help you have a better understanding of what you're studying, and then you can break these down as you need. So let's stop sharing. Let me go back to the presentation really quickly. Thank you, Destiny. I didn't realize that that wasn't coming up. So we're going to create mind maps, and then we're going to write summaries. Again, this was part of the SQ3R method, but having those summaries and paraphrasing is going to help you to retain this information. So let's look at the information processing model. What happens is that when you are in a setting, when you're in a lecture, when you are reading, when you are attending an event, anything like this where information is coming in, you start with information coming in and it comes through with your senses, right? It's what you see, what you hear, what you touch. Anything that has to do with your senses comes to us. Then it moves to our sensory memory. This is also known as short-term memory. So when you take in information, our sensory memory starts to process what we need and what we don't need. If you stop here, so if you've only read material for one time, you've forgotten a lot of things, and a lot of things will not progress into the next area, which is our working memory. So what you're going to do next is you are going to continue to rehearse the information and review the information so that you are successfully able to move the information from your short-term sensory memory to your working memory to your long-term memory. This happens through a process called encoding, and it happens through a process called rehearsal. So you have to do this over and over. If you've just read your information once, it's not going to stick. So if you do the skimming in the SQ3R, and you do the reading, and you do the follow-up with the summaries, you've rehearsed this information 3 times. So this is how you move things from short-term memory to long-term memory. What you also can do is to create study guides. Beginning of the semester is the perfect time to create study guides. As you are going through each chapter in your classes, create questions that are challenging, areas that you did not quite grasp, and put those answers to the side or put the page number on where you can find this information. So then when you get to that test, you know what you have to review in chapter 1. You know what you have to review in chapter 2. So then you're kind of creating a study guide as you go. So this needs to be an ongoing process of creating a study guide. And if you do it sooner, if you put more time in the front end, then when it comes time to doing an exam, you don't have to wait as long. Create test questions for yourself. This will help challenge you to retain this information. Practice active recall. Active recall is a process where you read a flashcard on the front and you know what the answer is without looking at the back. If you had to look at the back and you say, got it right, you didn't get it right. It's not an active recall. When you are sitting for an exam, when you're sitting for a test, if you have to read the answers, that's not active recall. You should be able to read the test question and then automatically know what the answer is. That is when you've mastered active recall. Seek support. You're not in this alone. You can join study groups, you can create study groups, you can attend tutoring, and then you can always reach out to your instructor for more information and for classification. Let's talk about strategies for execution. So a lot of times we can be the best planners, but we just never get around to doing the work, right? So I'm gonna take us through a really quick activity. I want everybody to close your eyes and imagine what 1 minute would look like. When you feel like 1 minute has passed, I want you to open your eyes and look at the screen, okay? When I count to 3, 1, 2, 3, go. All right. If you are just now opening your eyes, congratulations, you made it to a minute. If you opened your eyes and you saw numbers on the screen, you want to pay attention to these next couple of slides that have to do with time management. There's nothing wrong. Everybody has a different perception of time. So it's just important to recognize that if you need a little bit of more help in these areas, there are ways to help you. There's something called the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule is if it takes 2 minutes or less, just do it. Don't procrastinate. Make less plan Bs. If you're a person who says, I'm going to wait till tomorrow, or I also have time on Friday, don't. Make less time plan Bs. Plan backwards. If you have a project that's due at the end of the semester, take some time this week, break it apart, and then sprinkle it across these next 16 weeks so that you are not rushed at the end. And then the Eisenhower priority matrix. This is where you take everything that you know that you need to do, you write it down on a piece of paper, and you identify what is important and what is not important. And then you start to strategize how you approach these tasks that you need to do. A lot of times we just feel like we need to do it because we need to do it now, but it can actually wait. So procrastination, identify why. Ask yourself, why am I not doing this? Why am I afraid to do this? Why am I afraid to start this? Procrastination does not have to do with the task. It has to do with the feeling associated with the task. If it's that you hate writing, then take some time today and schedule a time with our writing center and just say, I just need help getting started. I don't know how to go. I don't know how to move forward. They're going to help you break it down. They'll help you with the plan, and then they will be there to help proofread your work. So now you have that extra layer of your support. Motivate yourself daily with good thoughts and see how things get better. If you tell yourself, I've never been good at math, and then you go into math, you're not going to be in the place you need to be with your mind, your mental state. So tell yourself, I struggle with math, but today I am going to pay attention. But today I am going to master this quiz. Okay. Make sure that you're preparing yourself for positive outcomes. One of the things that I do is I also serve as an academic coach here at Texas Women's University. So if anybody wants to meet individually with an academic coach, you're more than welcome to do that. We have academic coaches who support students virtually and in person. We work with students on things like time management, test taking, balancing, home and work and life. Anything that has to do with your academics or that you feel is taking away from your academics, we can help you identify those and work on creating a plan and working through those. It's a free service. So I encourage you to sign up. Destiny, can you drop the link in the chat for us, please? We're going to have that chat there, the link, in case anybody wants to schedule an appointment. Please do not be discouraged by our wait times. Sometimes we do have, in the beginning of the semester, we tend to get, a lot more appointments, then we slow down and then we come back up again. So schedule an appointment, just get it on the books, and then we'll be able to help you get through this. We have different services here at Texas Women's University. We have tutoring centers, we have the Right Site, we have our counseling and psychological services. So for students who are struggling with maybe moving away from home, adjusting to college, dealing with something that maybe happened in your past, or a problem with a roommate or a partner, CAPS is able to help you. You can set appointments, it's all free. We have our Campus Alliance for Resource Education, which is our care department. Within this department, you are able to seek out assistance, whether that be them helping you find assistance, financial, food pantries, different things like that. And they're kind of the go-to on how to help you navigate what you're dealing with. So definitely take some opportunities to kind of take some time to be familiar with these resources. We do have 3 more workshops coming up. So for those of you who would like to learn more about your learning styles, we're going to cover that September the 27th, October the 18th. We're going to be talking about recharging, and you're going to be in the middle of the semester. You're going to have halfway to go. So we'll help you with some strategies on getting there and then preparing for finals. So do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want me to review anything? You're more than welcome to take your mic off or drop something in the chat. No questions? No. Let's use the chat to drop in something that what's going to be your 2190 challenge? What are you going to try for either, whether it be that planning for the next 16 weeks, or one thing that you can get from today's presentation that you would like to challenge yourself for the next 21 days to commit to? I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Learning more about SQ3R, and I'll send that flyer out for the SQ3R, planning and brain dumping. Our professor said we get 1 hour credit for this workshop. What are the requirements to submit the proof? Okay, trying to think. You'd have to send me an individual email. That's going to be the best way so that you can get extra for those of you who are being offered extra credit. Pomodoro technique in the planning calendar. Begin with the end in mind, working backwards. Yes, great. Implementing a good, consistent study schedule. Follow the Pomodoro method. Great. Well, I hope that you were able to grab a couple of